This is the 5th dungeon in Destiny 2, brought out with the Season of the Haunted. This is a sped up version, but this is going to be the solo run that I completed a little while ago, earlier in the season. It was the first time I'd finished it, and yeah, it was probably at the time the biggest achievement I'd done in D2 at the time, I'd say. It was a fairly tough challenge for when I did it first of all. Now it's a lot easier because I've done it once before, but first attempt obviously is more difficult. So yeah, this is going to be my solo attempt. This is just the first parkour section, but when we get to the first encounter, we will do a quick run through of things, and we will go from there. So here we go. This is also sped up just to ×4 speed for the parkour sections, because it's a bit of a waste of time just watching me aimlessly run around in parkour sections, you know, especially if I make mistakes and don't edit that part out. So it's best if I just leave it in and speed it up. For some of the encounters, I may speed up the footage slightly as well, just to make them go faster, because this looks like it's going to be about a 1 hour long video anyway. But here we go. We'll see what happens. This is for future me anyway in the editing, so... Right, when we get to the first encounter, I will be back. So here we are at the first encounter. Quick loadout, change here, deleted blue. But first encounter, Galran of the Duality dungeon. Fairly simple encounter, fairly easy to understand. However, can be a little bit of a challenge, I suppose. It's a little bit of a longer fight, potentially, if you're not using some incredibly meta build with, you know, some of the more powerful things in the game currently. In previous seasons, there were also mods that would significantly help with this particular part of the dungeon, namely the glaive mod from 1 or 2 seasons ago that would allow you to double the time of the unstable essence, so you could do even more increased damage to Galran, but also the Worm God Cuirass, which of course a couple of seasons ago, back when Duality first came out, was still kind of broken, and you could kill him in like 5 hits from a throwing hammer. So yeah, interesting that, but these days we do have our own mods. I'm running Solo Operative and Weaken Clear on the grenade launcher. Not using Wither Horde for this though, because it frees up my exotic slot to use the Lament Sword. So that's where my main damage is going to come from. And the encounter is fairly simple. So what we need to do here is go into the Nightmare Realm by shooting the bell. Go and grab the 2 standards by killing the Scions in one of the 4 rooms. You kill the first one, pick up the standard. Now, interesting tip to make this actually a better DPS phase. What you really need to do is go and kill the second Scion, but not pick up the standard from it. So you kill the first Scion, run across to the second one, and then you don't grab the standard from him when you've killed the second one. Now, the reason you do this is because what it does is it prompts the game to respawn the Scion, because it sees that you've obviously not gone and picked it up, but you have killed the guy, so it wants to respawn it to respawn the banner. Now, what you do there is when you go into the Nightmare Realm for the second time, by going into the mini room, shooting the bell and going and fighting the mini Golran shades, then you pick up the second one, and you go and place it and do the normal stuff. Now, the reason you do this is because now what will have happened is a second Scion will spawn in the Nightmare Realm, and it will be in the position where you just picked up the banner from, that you're now going to go into the sub-side room to go and fight the mini Golrans. So you'll now go into the locked version of that room, as you're about to see here, and when I go in, there will be a Scion in here. Now what the Scion will do, like it does in the other version of the room, is it will extend the timer of which you have in the Nightmare Realm, which in theory makes this a lot easier, because instead of having maybe a 30-second damage phase, you now get a 45-50-second damage phase because you kill the extra Scion. So it does significantly speed up the damage phase, and allows you to do a lot more damage. You can see finally getting into it with the sword. With Radiant procced as well, trying to get as many hits as I can as well with the throwing hammer. Trying to do some damage. Definitely would have preferred, I think, running Lucent Blade here. I think probably would have been a better thing to run. I tended to run Font of Might pretty much in all of my utility slot for the mods as opposed to anything else, so I'm pretty sure that a Lucent Blade would definitely have done some more here. And as I say earlier, some of the previous mods from previous seasons would have made this particular part a little bit quicker as well. But yeah, not really much to it. Once you've placed the two banners down and you shoot the mini Golrans, you come out of the room, you shoot big Golran. There's not really much to it. So there's not really much more for me to say. So I'll come back at the next encounter and I'll chuck a little bit of music or something in here. Just fill a bit of the time while we're waiting for little squeaky mini Callus, Chibi Callus, to scream and cry in a minute when we start killing things. But yeah, I'll be back in the next encounter.
There was a time when the black you laid in death beside you, fearing these grips. But we were both different then. No one of honor will be turned here. The dirt or raw materials are nothing of harm. Shadows were cast here. History made.
Here we are at the start of encounter number 2, the Vault. Very simple encounter, quite easy to be perfectly honest. There's a high ad density, but the actual boss, or mini bosses I guess, aren't particularly hard to kill. Not a particularly difficult encounter, however the time crunch is definitely a thing. So you've got to be wary of your time. I suppose ammo economy potentially could be a little problem here, depending on what weapons you're using, but that just comes down to RNG really as well, to whether you've got the right ammo finder mods on and things and get lucky. Here we go, we've got a chalice and we got a axe symbol on the floor. What we need to do is go and find the chalice and the axe symbols that will be placed on these little wall slabs. There we go, there's the sun. That's the wrong one. Let's go over to this one, try this one as well. What we got here, we got the cup, the chalice. So now what we do is we shoot the bell, we go into the Nightmare Realm, we kill the ads that are up here. We can dodge the ones on the stairs because those ones aren't relevant, but we kill all these guys. And once we've killed them, and the Colossus, who's at the top of the stairs, that will spawn a Centurion. The Centurion will be the banner keeper. He will drop the banner, we pick up the banner, kill the bell keepers, get out, place the banner in the floor. Nice and simple. Once we've done that twice, so we have 2 banners placed. Obviously, we can see there was 2 symbols before when we were in the other room. That will despawn the shield on the mini-boss. We kill the mini-boss, rinse and repeat 2 more times until we've killed the other 2 mini-bosses and collected the banners, and job's done. Vault is complete. Very simple, as I say, time crunch and ad density, really the only problems here. Not much else to say. Pretty simple. When it comes to a solo run, personally, I don't find this part particularly hard. Yeah, not really much to it. I mean, I'm using Solar Titan, so obviously restoration and things is fairly simple for me. But, yeah, not a particularly difficult part of the encounter, or the whole dungeon really, and then we get to the juicy part at the end, in the not too distant future where we go fight Keitel, so yeah, I'll be back for that I suppose.
Dark Shadow. I was truly seen. There, I understood my role in the closing of the circle. The witness opened its mind to me, and I saw my darkest desire made reality. I will be the last. It is my right. I am the herald. I am the end. She's more beautiful than any star I've ever beheld. Her name, Title, for the brightest star in our sky.
Finally, we find ourselves at the Nightmare of Keitel, the final encounter of the Duality dungeon. Fairly simple encounter all in all. Let's run through it. So pretty simple. What we got initially is a room with a little triangle pattern of 3 bells, one in the middle, one on the right, and one on the left. Then you have 4 platforms, 4 balcony ledges that all have the 4 symbols above from before: the cup, the dog, the axe, and the sun. So what we're going to do here at the start is kill all the bell keepers to make sure that we unlock all of the bells while trying to stay alive. Not doing such a great job of it right now. We are fairly weak. Now you can see over there in the back there was a white symbol. Similarly to in the vault, we have the dog and the cup. So what we need to do is kind of similarly to the first encounter, is we need to go and get the dog and the cup banner. So the way we do that, go into the Nightmare Realm using the bells, jump up onto one of the platforms where the symbol was on the wall before, above, and then we kill the scion that is above. Now, the scions, if we get it correct, obviously will give us more time. If we get it wrong and we kill the wrong scion, it will get rid of some of the time that we have. Once we get back from killing the scions, what we have to do then is kill the bell keepers so that we can actually get out, because there's going to be 4 sets this time, basically 1 for each of the bells that we don't use, and then go back to the bell that we do use, so in this case the middle, after grabbing the 2 chalice, 2 banners. Once we've got the 2 banners, we need to go and place them into the 2 banner slots on the little gemstone triangles, and repeat, pretty much. So that's the first part of the encounter. So we have to repeat that again. Here we go, second one in, there's cup. So now we got the 2 of them in. What we need to do now is repeat it again. We need to get the next 2. So if we look across, we'll have a little jump in a moment and have a quick look. We've got a sun and we've got an axe. So now we need to go and get sun and axe while Keitel is running around. Important thing to note in this particular dungeon, Keitel actually not a huge amount of a threat, I would say. Not really one of those really heavy damage dealing bosses, so she's not really too much of a threat to worry about on the ground. It's more the bell keepers you've got to worry about, if anything. And they may sound stupid, but the main thing you've got to keep in mind with them is the backpacks. If you kill them and they drop the backpacks and she stamps later on the encounter when you get into DPS phases, for example, they can very easily kill you with explosive damage. Now this is, like, during this run that I was doing, a number of times I was killed through restoration using, you know, a sunspot very easily through the explosions from backpacks. So they're no joke. If you see any on the floor, destroy them if you can while you're in there. And the first time definitely will save you some heartbreak later on, particularly if you're going for a flawless attempt. If you're not, it doesn't really matter necessarily, but obviously you still don't want to be dying anyway. So now we move on, we come back to the Nightmare Realm, place the other 2 banners and get ready for our DPS phase. Now what we do here is we hit the little gemstone that comes down on the 2 like bell chains. Once we do that, it will transport us into the Nightmare Realm with Keitel. Now what we have to do is we have to sort of race her, I suppose. We have to race her to the bells to stop her from getting out. Now, as you can see, that's a good example of what not to do. We were too slow. She gets away in the first one there. So that's actually a pretty poor start. So that's what's basically will happen. Once you get in there, it's a bit of a race against time. You have to kill the bell keepers next to the respective bell that she's trying to run towards, which is random every time. So she won't always run to right first like she did there. She may run to middle, she may run to left. You have to effectively either predict her or stop her getting there, or get there first. Killing the bell keepers is not the hardest thing in the world, obviously using Wither Horde or something like that. And retrospectively now, if I was looking at it, probably what I would say is best thing I could have done was actually use some heavy ammo to kill them, because I think for the most part, when we get to the actual damage phase in a moment where we get to damage her, you'll see that probably having as much heavy ammo as it did wasn't necessarily necessary. So yeah, we'll kind of see in a moment. But yeah, I would have focused probably on heavy ammo on the Bellkeepers instead to make sure they died more than anything, or used a better weapon. I was using the Icolos SMG. Potentially you could use maybe a shotgun or a fusion rifle. That could work well as well. I didn't have any on me at the time, and I didn't really fancy messing about in the Destiny item manager because yeah, I've been going for a little while at this point, so I just wanted to get it done, really. Yeah, so we repeat again, as we can see, symbols, same thing. Once we actually get to the chance to fight Keitel, it's important to remember one thing. So once you've dealt with your backpacks, you've killed the Bellkeepers, and you're in there with her, what you need to be doing once you beat her to the bell is you need to wait until she gets close-ish to it. I'd say within a few meters, maybe 10, 20 meters of the bell. Then you need to shoot it. So when you shoot the bell like you normally would do to get out the Nightmare Realm, that will drop a stun when the bell closes, and it will stun her. She'll kind of roar and stamp a little bit, and then she will start sort of moving around kind of funny, and you'll very easily see it when we get there in a minute, but she will be obviously stunned. At that point, she is able to take a lot of damage. Now, when you stand very close to the bell, that will also give you a damage multiplier against her, so it's very important to make sure that you don't stray too far away from the outer circle of the bell that is on the floor. There we go, shooting some backpacks. Almost killed myself for one. There you go, there's the circle on the floor. So if you stand inside this circle, you do get a damage multiplier that will allow you to do more damage to her. In my case, we had Roaring Flames up to be able to kill the Bellkeepers really easily. I was stacking Radiant as well. Font of Might wasn't actually proccing in this case, I realised, because it was solar. Or I was producing solar wells, I believe, and I was running with arc weapons. So that was a meme. I don't know what I was thinking there. I guess it was a waste of a slot. But yeah, here what I decided to do to change my strategy slightly was I started using the super to kill the Bellkeepers quicker. We see that we can get in front of her. You can actually slow her down. If you stand in front of Keitel as she's running, she will stamp sometimes, and it will kind of annoy her a little bit, and she will stomp and stop. So there you go. Here we go. Now stood next to the bell, 54k per shot from our Storm Chaser there with the Wither Horde Weaken Clear debuff. Not bad. Go to the middle one. It's a good, maybe a fifth on one bell. So we're looking at 5 bells here if we kept the same amount of damage. Proc Radiant again, going for the shots. Obviously, we are hitting 11s at some point, and I think we will miss some shots. But if you look at this, if we could get to half her health in one phase, that's pretty impressive, I'd say, for me. I'm not some hero Destiny player or anything. I'm just a normal dude, so using maybe not the most meta stuff in the world, but I'll take what I can get, really. And if I can get her to sub half health, which we do here, I'm very happy with that. So yeah, there isn't really much more to it after that. I've pretty much said everything I need to about this. Let's say using Weaken Clear Solar Operative to give me extra damage as well, with a hoarding her as well. Sometimes she'll stamp a little bit at the end. You can damage her still once the bells aren't actually shot and she's not stunned. You can still hurt her, as we're going to see at the end, foreshadowing the end potentially. Very close to death there as well, but yeah, that's really all I need to say. So I'll let the rest of this play out, and for anyone wondering why there's no sound as well, and why there'll only be music on the background compared to some of the others, it's because I was actually in a Discord call, and the recording software that I was using ended up picking up the footage of the Discord call, and it kind of corrupted it. So the sound was all bugged out, and I don't know what happened, so I thought it was best just to mute it than have really weird sound in the background. So just like I've done before, I'll chuck some music or something over on the background, and we'll go from there. But yeah, that is the end of my little blurb about this bit now. We'll watch it play out, and yeah, that's it.